Because those that are listening can't see, but Anthony's got a proper little rig set up. He's got his mic, like this is why his audio sounds so crisp. He's into his YouTube and his content, which is your first topic. So unpack that for us. What do you mean by YouTube and content strategy, and what does that mean to you?
Sure. So, like I said, whenever I started out with that $100 in Zillow ad spend. But, I've always kept a really good track on where my leads are coming from, how much revenue I'm making from each lead source. And it started to get, as I closed a couple of deals from Zillow for $100, I was like, well, now let's bump that up to 200, until it got to a couple grand, but it was bringing in maybe 30 plus grand a month in revenue off of, it was always like 10x return. But Zillow could be gone tomorrow. Sure, there's always going to be some sort of comparable lead source, but you just never know. And so I decided that I was going to start making an effort to become my own Zillow. How can I attract leads and clients without having something, any kind of dependency, because if even 30% of your business is coming from one specific lead source that you have no control of, well, just imagine if that lead source goes away.
Was gone. Yeah.
Dries up tomorrow. What
So
happens?
I started working really hard on our website, SEO, and a big part of that is YouTube. So I hired a full-time videographer last year, and we just started every week. It kind of started out with my listings, where we were just doing professional listing videos, and then I was putting that on YouTube. I was putting that on Facebook, Instagram, boosting it. We were able to get tens of thousands of views that way. And that was working out really good. But then listings kind of dried up for everybody. So I'm like, all right, well, now what are we going to do? So we started doing like tours of areas of the town, best neighborhoods, pros and cons of living here. Just every week, because we had Wednesday set aside every day, that day every week for content. And so he would come over to the office on Wednesday and we would just have to go film some form of content. So now we probably have, I don't know, has to be at least 50 some videos on there, and we get leads from it every week. I embed those YouTube videos on to my website. And so now we have pages ranking for specific neighborhoods that if you type in that neighborhood, we're the first result on Google. And so that's where I'm starting to see, maybe we can build in some freedom with this strategy, because I might, I have a full-time videographer. So yeah, I'm doing it at like the highest quality. I'm not just, doing a GoPro or whatever. And plenty of people have success with that. But I want to make this the highest level of content to where it's going to be hard as hell for anybody to come into my market and try to beat me out.
Duplicate it and rip it off.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I've already done it at the highest level. It would really take an investment of time and money for someone to try to match it. Now I make that video, and that video may produce leads for me for every week for years to come. It's something you do once that continues to generate leads, and it's something that I own. So if you type in my town, I live in a 25,000 population town, Roseburg, Oregon, on YouTube, I'm at least half of the first 10 videos that show up on YouTube. Even on Google, I think that we're on the first page with some of our videos because, Google owns YouTube. So I found a lot of power in focusing on the content and YouTube specifically.
So did you, when you got into YouTube, for those listening, maybe, they're interested in expanding on the YouTube strategy. I mean, we love it. We're kind of looking into it a little bit, but did you, when you got into it, did you take the money you earned and dive full in videographer, everything right away? Or was there a bit of a ramp up? Was it an iPhone GoPro setup prior, or was it whole hog from day one?
I did a couple of blog articles where I recorded it with my GoPro, and I had a Canon T6i, which is a nicer DSLR camera, not the nicest in the world, but I had tried, but it took so many hours to actually not only go out and get the content, but to put the content together into something that was worth watching. So yes, I did a couple of them. I mean, I was relatively happy with how they turned out. Again, like we were talking about from the beginning, consistency. How consistent can you be whenever all of a sudden you have a listing appointment, or, a buyer needs to look at a house, or your team has some problem that you have to go fix? Well, obviously those things end up taking priority. And so it just made more sense to hire someone to do it. So yeah, I just kind of jumped right in with the videographer. He was making, I don't know, 12, $14 an hour working at the airport, hated his job. He had a YouTube channel, so he sent me some videos of him like fishing and stuff. And I'm like, I think I like this guy. Let's see how this works. And he just had a talent and a skill that he wasn't able to utilize. He was using it more as a hobby, and so he was more than happy to come over and start putting in the
For
hours
for
and
any for
making stuff
anybody
happen.
who's listening, what does that look like? Like, what kind of investment should they be expecting? It doesn't have to be exact, like brackets. Like, if somebody's looking to start producing high quality content
Mm.
for YouTube or whatever source they're picking, what kind of investment should they be expecting? Like a minimum. Obviously, you can go really high end production, and you can ramp it up and you can spend whatever you want. But like, for example, as a new agent,
Uh,
if I'm looking for a videographer, are we looking at, $1,000 a month? Do you have them on a project by project basis? What does that look like? How do you even have that conversation?
so I did the couple projects myself, and then I transitioned into using one of my real estate photographers into doing videos. And I was happy with them, but they were kind of more corporate looking videos, didn't quite have the feel that I wanted. But the biggest thing was we batched and we did like 5 videos in one day, and I didn't get some of those videos back until months later. And so that's whenever I was like, screw this. We have enough photo and video stuff that we could just hire a full-time person to do this that's dedicated to it, and is going to make it happen for us. So whenever I had the real estate photographer doing it, it was like several $100s a video is what it came out to. And it was just per project. With my buddy Alec, that's our full-time videographer, I pay him hourly. I pay him $17.50 an hour, which, it's going to be different, I'm sure, market to market, but in our area, that's competitive. He's making more than he was at his other job, and he's happy to do it, and he still picks up side jobs and stuff. I mean, this was a good transition for him to work into that being his business. But obviously, I'm going to be the majority of what keeps him busy. So he's dedicated to helping me make sure that we're getting that video out every week, rather than a more independent contractor who's I may not get my content back for several months. Hard to be consistent with that.
Well, one of the questions I've got is around the content strategy. So the
uh,
realtors who actually go out and do want to produce content, whether it's for themselves or to get someone in. I think this is interesting. Like, what content, give us a few video ideas or things that you found success with that are actually generating you leads for your business, that are getting you actual deals in, because that's what
mhm.
matters, right? Like
Yeah.
producing content, like, to be candid, it's like no one really, no, it's not that no one cares. It's like no one cares. We want deals. Like, we're doing this to get money in, to make money, to close GCI, to have that
Yes.
consistency. So like, what content, what videos are producing you qualified leads that you're able to convert?
Well, the ones that have done best. So remember, I'm in a 25,000 population town. So I have a couple of videos that are over a handful of thousand of views. My first one that did really well was the 5 best neighborhoods in Roseburg, Oregon. And then I think that pros and cons of living in Roseburg, Oregon is even over that now. Other than that, neighborhoods typically do really well. I think where people go wrong when they start trying to use this strategy is by like talking about the escrow process and talking about lending. I mean, I've done a handful of those videos. I had a series, the Roseburg Real Estate Rant, where I would do things that were more real estate related. Those videos always tank. Nobody gives a shit about them. But if you go out and you're a local guide, then people kind of can see your personality and begin to like you and feel like they know you before you even get together. And I mean, once eh, once Alec and I got in a groove where we were out in town every week, I mean, people started to recognize us and be like, "Oh, I see your videos on Facebook," and stuff like that. I mean, like everywhere we went, and it was like you started to see the local celebrity effect, which
Yeah, I love it.
I had never really expected that.
Yeah, that's a really, really nice idea, actually, because if you can just produce content that is, yeah, that people in your area want to see, you run some small ads to it. And like you said, local celebrity, like, this is a super powerful strategy in like these communities, especially close knit ones, that's going to produce like ridiculous ROI for you, where it's like people are seeing us about, because I live in 25,000 people. Obviously, if you live in other areas that are slightly bigger, but it's like the leverage that you get from social media with regards like money into like impressions and views is ridiculous. Like, it is crazy.
Oh yeah.
And people should leverage that more. I mean, listen, you are living proof, at 26 doing north of 100 deals a year, using these strategies in a very small area in the grand scheme of things. It's like, also, I think what other people listening to this, some people might be like, yeah, but I live in a small area, and then you've just gone, yeah, mine's 25,000 people. So is yours
Oh, yeah.
really that much smaller than mine? Like, I live in a tiny ass area.
There's only a few places that may be that much smaller. So go to the town next door. Go to the neighboring town, right? Expand your horizon.